Hey guys, so today we have a video that I've been planning for way too long. Sorry I disappeared for like over 2 weeks, but it's only because I think I've just been... It's not even like this video took ages to make necessarily. In the grand scheme of things, I think it just took about as long as all my other videos on this channel, but I think just the idea of researching this man again and having to like put myself through reading all of that, I was just like so tired with just the idea of it, but I knew it needed to be done because I wanted one consolidated video of everything that's happened so far for my own personal education and for everyone else's. Like, I just think it's important to just have it all consolidated in one video. Because I know I do have a drama channel, which is shorter. Well, I say that, but lately I posted a 53-minute long video, but it's just like more what's just happening kind of like recently. I guess that's the best way to describe it, just like recent news, whereas this is like deep diving into random topics. And on that channel for years I would cover Jeffree Star stuff that was happening, so there is a lot on there. I want to preface this with a few things, right? First of all, subscribe, hit that bell, like, comment for engagement. My drama channel, my book channel, and my podcast will be in description, so if you guys want any of that, that will be there. Now, for the last few videos, I've said that the makeup links will be in description, and they were not. This time, they will be. Also, during the video, I might mention something about the makeup I'm wearing. I will not be discussing every single product, but if I do mention a product, do not shout at me. If you don't like people talking about things other than the main topic of the video, find someone else to watch. That's it. I will not hear anything about it. With Jeffree Star, I used to like him before I knew of anything that he had done. Like, when he was reinventing himself on YouTube, I thought, interesting personality. He's, you know, loud, he's bold and confident, and I was like, yeah, this feels great. And then I found out what was kind of going on, and I ended up making a lot of negative videos about him on my drama channel, and I remember getting a lot of hate for it. Like, I remember those videos were always my most disliked videos. They were always the ones that I got like the really bad comments on, because people were still kind of very much on his side with things. I was blocked by him on Twitter, but then I don't know if he unblocked me because I haven't seen his tweets recently. Let's go check. Let's go down this rabbit hole together. He has this tendency of like blocking, unblocking, blocking, unblocking. It's like a thing that he does. Oh, yep. I'm still currently blocked by Jeffree Star on Twitter, and it's been like that for what feels like years, and is probably years. I think it's since like the Bi-Sister scandal I've been blocked by him. I will be including some clips of his problematic behavior, but not all of them, as some will get me removed off the face of the platform because they're that abhorrent. Like, they're just like borderline criminal, and I want to say that in an alleged way. He hasn't ever been prosecuted for anything. The way those videos, those clips are, does not make me feel comfortable to have on my videos. So I'm also not including all lies and little things, like him, for example, lying about buying his boyfriend an Aston Martin, which he then changed the title to pretending to buy my boyfriend an Aston Martin. I'm not gonna cover those in detail. It just doesn't really make sense for the level of seriousness of this video. Like, okay, he lied about a car. I'm also not gonna talk about like lying about his nan's age, whether she's 100 or 103. I think I was trying to focus on like the main bits of Jeffree Star, and I think, yeah, those are really funny, but like, I'm past funny with Jeffree Star. Like, I'm way past that point of like, this is quirky and cute. Like, it's not. So if I miss some things out, it's not because I don't know about them or I didn't research enough. I probably do know about them and actively chose to leave those bits out of the video just for the sake of keeping things concise and sweet, even though this intro is already so long. So if you have anything that I didn't include that you find super interesting, you can just write a nice, kind, respectful comment for someone else to come across. And let's just get into it. So Jeffree Star is actually called Jeffree Lynn Steininger Jr. And actually Jeffree's real name is spelt Jeffree with a Y, whereas he goes by Jeffree with an EE. Now, I wonder if that's because the name Jeffree sounds more common. Like, I think most commonly, if you think about the name Jeffree, it's spelt with a Y at the end. I think maybe he just wanted to be quirky and cool and sound more like a celebrity, so he changed it into Jeffree EE, because I usually don't see a real Jeffree be called Jeffree EE. Let me know. Not that that's like a problematic thing, I was just thinking about this now. Like, I wondered why he had changed the spelling, because it doesn't change the pronunciation, but I guess it just looks cooler. I don't know. He was born November 15th, 1985, making him 36 right now. It's crazy based on, once again, I don't like to age shame. Anyone can be on the platform, anyone can do what they want. I just think there is a certain age where your prefrontal cortex develops and you stop doing foolishness. And it feels like his most like foolish days, well, some of them are like past the age of 25. It's like when your prefrontal cortex is developed, he decided to just be a menace on the internet and like just have drama with everyone, but like petty drama, because he used to do really problematic things. And then he stopped doing those necessarily because he was trying to reinvent himself, but then he was still doing really petty like high school drama things. He was born in LA, California. Why am I not doing my makeup? Let's get into it. Yeah. He's been active as Jeffree Star since 2003. Mainly known for YouTube and his makeup brand, but has been around long before on things like MySpace, which I'm going to talk about in quite a bit of detail. I also, in today's video, might slightly mention makeup because I've bought so much, well, I bought some really interesting new makeup. I've also been sent some in PR, so I'll be mentioning just like any new products I have that I think are kind of interesting. And the first one being, I bought this Hourglass Foundation that just came out, the Soft Glow Foundation that they just released. This one, holy, this is amazing. If you have the chance to like try this in any capacity, get it. It's so good. It is steering away from like the super glowy, dewy makeup, which I'm kind of steering away from it as well. I just think it looks more flawless when you have like a slightly like soft focus matte-ish base with some highlight, but like not glowy, which I mean that's just trends, like trend cycles. In a year I'm gonna be like, oh my god, dewy again, you know? But this looks really good. It's not dry looking, and it's almost got a velvety look to it. MySpace to push his career that he was like planning back then, because since the beginning he's really been like planning a career. He used it to push his music career as well, which yes, he has released music. Is it good? No, not in any capacity. Like, I don't even think it's like just not the type of music that I listen to. It's just not good. If you're more aware of that kind of music, let me know if you like it. I just personally don't find it that fun and fresh. Also recently got my hands on, finally, the Charlotte Tilbury cream bronzer. It's the Beautiful Skin Sun-Kissed Glow Bronzer. So this is where he does a lot of problematic stuff. And I'm actually going to rely on, for this segment of the video, Kat, who used to work at Insider. She wrote a crazy article about Jeffree when he was like at the height of his cancelling. She really just released a crazy article, and I'm gonna go over that article with you guys today. But also Lee and Manny Mua, who is a YouTuber. He posted 2 like main videos about Jeffree Star that both were over 1 million views. They went massive because they exposed things that we have just never seen before from Jeffree. Like, we all saw his problematic ways and we already thought he was problematic, but then to see all of this extra stuff, we were just like shocked and bamboozled this managed to like get past all of us, essentially. So I'm gonna focus on those resources. I will link Lee and Manny Mua's videos in the description because I won't be like basically word for word copying what he said. Like, you might as well just go watch his videos if you want like the full detail with all the receipts, because I don't want to take away from his work, but I definitely think it's like really important to mention here, and he is the one that exposed the information. So his first video was about things that Jeffree was hiding from his past, like that he was doing online. So for example, Jeffree Star had another attempt at a makeup brand called Lipstick Nazi. A lot of Jeffree's fans will tell you that like this brand wasn't real, or like it was made by someone that looked like Jeffree, but no, all the promo was with Jeffree, and it was also trademarked as Jeffree Star. So no, like just no. And it had like really awful imagery on marketing, mainly to do with self-harm and just Nazis. Like, just the whole thing was super disgusting, and I don't know how any of it, like, how he thought, like, I remember the times were different, I know that, but like I just don't know how he saw like longevity and a future in that brand. But anyway, maybe that's why it didn't like continue, you know? So there was also an old Jeffree Star blog from 2004 on a website called Melodramatic, and a lot of the posts are deleted. So like if you go back, obviously you can't access a lot of the stuff. Lee and Manny Mua was using the Wayback Machine. So like, you know, doing his best to try and get like all the info, but a lot of it was missing. But what was on there was problematic as is. So like we don't need all of the information to know that like this is not right. There was, for example, a lot of posts of him drinking or doing heavy drugs, or discussing drinking and doing heavy, which like on its own wouldn't really, even though like I try to stay out of people's business when it comes to stuff that they're like not showing on the internet, but because this was shown on the internet, it became everyone's business. He discussed, you know, getting blackout drunk and things like that, which on their own, not awful, but he did also discuss doing hard drugs and doing them in large amounts. But then he tried to reinvent once entering the YouTube scene, and would say that he has never tried alcohol, like not even a sip, not even like tried it, and has never tried hard drugs. other than like doing weed, which isn't considered a hard drug. It's illegal in most places now. And this was in his series of Shane Dawson that he said this, which was his big reinvention, and I will be talking about this. That is really the series where he had some good PR, you know, and it was necessary because then they would go on to release that second series and release Makeup Together, which broke the internet, let's be honest now. So he needed the positive PR, and I think avoiding alcohol and drugs made him look more, I don't know, like maybe he tried to look more responsible. I'm not really sure. So he claimed that he had never touched or alcohol, but then there are so many, like I said, posts from back then discussing doing hard drugs, discussing drinking alcohol to crazy extents, and then even some more recent, you know, ones of him at Louis Vuitton drinking what looks like champagne, which, like, yeah, it's not a big deal, but when you lie about it, it just feels like, you know, what else are you lying about? He also discusses how he likes to manipulate everyone on the internet and pretend that he's changing and like use that as a manipulation tactic, which then really foreshadows his future on the platform of YouTube, because that's what he does. He pretends that he changes and he pretends that he's this good, amazing person, but really, in my eyes, it is just a manipulation tactic, because I don't actually see him changing. I just see him more hiding his true self. He also discussed a lot on this blog about self, and even to the extent of discussing how his friend at the time would sell using his name, and he found that really special until people sent him like death threats over it, and then he took down the post, which, like, just so morbid. I get that the times were different, don't get me wrong. I just don't think everyone at the time was like, oh, this is cute. Like, I don't think everyone was thinking that, and I personally don't think that either. So far, I'm really only using new products, so except for the primer, it's just my old e.l.f. primer, but so far the Hourglass Foundation, I'm using these new concealers by Charlotte Tilbury, the Beautiful Skin Concealer, and I personally really like it. I think it looks super natural. Then we have the Davi Vanity friendship. If you guys don't know, Davi Vanity was another musician who Jeffree Star would regularly go on tour with and collaborate with and work with, which means they actually had a pretty close relationship. And Jeffree spent a lot of his free time with Davi when Davi was at his like realist, I guess, behind the scenes. So like he would probably see a lot, and I'm just like, if you guys can't tell, I'm like foreshadowing at other situations. So Davi Vanity had a lot of allegations of SA. It was heavily investigated by people like Chris Hanson, and I remember Robzilla made a lot of videos about it, even to the point of interviewing some victims, mainly who also spoke out against Jeffree Star. I'll get into that in a minute. So this was a pretty big thing. Jeffree Star had actually tweeted a bunch of tweets basically discussing how disgusting Davi Vanity was, how much of a predator he was, and then a year later tweeted out, well, deleted all those tweets, and then tweeted out that he's actually going on tour with Davi Vanity, and that Davi Vanity's his brother, and was congratulating him on some kind of an achievement. That doesn't really make sense to me, but it actually makes sense to me because Jeffree Star doesn't actually care about anything. Jeffree Star is not the kind of person who is an activist, who cares, who is, you know, empathetic, compassionate, or anything like that. Jeffree Star will only involve himself in things where he thinks he has something to gain. So when Davi Vanity was on the decline, that's when Jeffree Star made those tweets. But then when he realized that Davi Vanity was not actually on a decline, and that legal action was not going to be, you know, pursued, and that he could actually make more money by being friends with Davi again, that's what he did. He does this with so many people. I'm going to get into that later because it just applies throughout. So actually, one of the victims of Davi Vanity, Damien, I cannot pronounce the surname for the life of me. I'm so sorry. I've tried many times. I've been practicing, and it just, you know. They did an interview with Robzilla about how Jeffree Star saw everything that was going on behind the scenes with Davi, all the victims, the whole thing. And he can't really say that he didn't see anything, because Jeffree Star's whole thing when he doubled back was that he never actually saw anything criminal. And if he did, then Davi would be in jail. But like, he made those tweets in the past saying how he did see things happen that he then doubled back on. Damien goes on Robzilla's channel and basically says, no, Jeffree Star was on the tour bus, Jeffree Star was behind the scenes, Jeffree Star saw everything, and is now doubling back because that's what's gonna get him the outcome that he wants, essentially, which is for people to not dig into his past, because, you know, if you're associated with a criminal, people are gonna start digging into you. Whereas if you say, oh, I just didn't know anything, people might leave you alone, which is my opinion. for why he started kind of distancing himself from the allegations. There's a second video that Liam did, and it's about revenge corn, is what I'm going to call it, because that's what people do on TikTok to not get taken down, and that's what I'm going to do. Revenge corn is a crime, if you guys didn't know. It's when you release explicit content of sexual nature about people without their consent, and that's it. So there's a website called Is Anyone Up? That was created by Hunter Moore, which the fact that that was even created, mind-boggling to me. There was a blog post on the website of people discussing all of Jeffree Star's victims at the time, and obviously this doesn't have like evidence on it. It's just people being like, oh, my friend went through this with Jeffree Star, you know, I heard of him doing this in this town, and yeah, we can't really confirm it, but the fact that like people that already attend this website, like these aren't good people, and they're the ones calling out Jeffree Star, means Jeffree Star really has to be like bad. Does that make any sense? Like, I think to be called out on a website that is already criminal for your criminal activities makes like, it just adds a level of like, oh, everyone thinks you're messed up. This is obviously all alleged information. Please don't sue me. I'm just relaying what I found on the internet. There would be people posting about how he would get men drunk, and it was to take advantage of them, essentially. Jeffree Star actually, for anyone that doubts if he was actually involved with this website in any way, he actually had public tweets on his official verified Jeffree Star Twitter account from back in the day, where he would at like the website, he would at people that he was threatening to post things of on the website. There was just a whole thing. He would also at the man who created this website, Hunter Moore, and tell him about how like the footage that he has that he could post to the website. I'm so paranoid today because yesterday I had a big fight. It was like my croc against a massive spider in my room. When I say massive, like the biggest I've seen in the house. And I still haven't recovered because he did try to fight back, and that really threw me for a loop. So I'm just so paranoid today. Whenever I see something move in the corner of my eye, I'm just like, oh, it must be the spider coming back for vengeance. It's dead. It was like, I flushed down the toilet, but I bet it's like, it's mum or something coming back with full vengeance. And he would mainly, was pretty effed up, is he would mainly post revenge porn of straight men. So not only was it revenge porn in the sense of like humiliating someone by posting explicit content they didn't consent to, but it was also straight men who haven't come out to anyone. So he would be like outing them at the same time. And actually, founder of the website, Hunter Moore, ended up serving 2 years in jail because he was investigated by the FBI for obviously the crime, revenge porn, like the crime. I don't know why he would do this. And he also, after he was released from jail, he released a book called Is Anyone Up, same name as the website. Sorry, I keep on finding hair everywhere. Discussing the whole situation. And actually in that book, he discussed Jeffree Star because apparently his girlfriend was into like drama. I wonder if she watched my videos. That would be such a weird, I just dug my nail into my new bronzer. That would be such a full weird circle that like I don't really want to be involved in. So he was really like, he would hear the name Jeffree Star going around, and he remembered that obviously he was kind of involved with Jeffree Star in that sense, where like Jeffree would post on his website and they kind of knew each other, and Jeffree would at him on Twitter, and you know, and he decided to write about it in the book. And this man is very homophobic, very extremely homophobic. So I take everything he's saying slightly lightly because I think like I'm almost, some of the things he says I'm toning down a bit, but I don't want to say that he's lying. So like I'm just, you know, he would discuss how like Jeffree Star had like a pink room and like the way he dressed, and it had very homophobic undertones. But what he ended up saying was that one time he met up with Jeffree Star in his pink room. Lol is what he said in the book, lol. Jeffree took out a butcher knife from under his pillow and then demanded sexual activities from Hunter. And Hunter got really angry and basically left. But then he found out that other people were going through the same stuff with Jeffree Star. Like they would be threatened into doing things as they didn't want to do. So that's what he discusses in the book. And despite the blatant homophobia, like this does sound like a plausible allegation to make. The book was then taken off Amazon promptly. There were also tweets at Hunter Moore about Jeffree Star and some kind of 14-year-old on tour, but that was never really elaborated on. So these kind of allegations have been going around for years now. Jeffree also claims that he holds onto dirt about people so they don't mess with him, and if he spent this much time with Darby Vanity, as he claimed that he did, he would obviously have seen something and he would have something on Darby Vanity. So for him to flip-flop between, oh, he's a predator, to then, oh, this is my brother, congratulations, to then like, I don't have anything, if I did, he'd be in jail. For him to flip-flop this much means that As much as Jeffree Star keeps things on everyone, people can also keep things on him. And if these allegations about Jeffree Star are true, then that means people could have allegations on him, including Davi Vanity, and maybe that is the reason why he has flip-flopped so much. That is now a conspiracy theory that I'm putting out there. It is not the truth. I'm just saying, just because you keep things on people doesn't mean they don't keep things on you. And maybe that is why he's flip-flopped so much on the Davi Vanity thing. Now, there were also like just additional things that I can't really show you guys, but there were videos of Jeffree doing like really strange things, like grabbing people where they shouldn't be grabbed, what it looks like without consent, but we don't know, pushing a drunk man around. And then that links to the allegations of him getting people drunk, which like we didn't see like the end bit of the video, but we saw like a wasted man in his apartment. He tried to explain it as like the man was just wasted, but that was it. We don't know, we didn't see it. For some new stuff, Hourglass just launched their holiday collection, which like we're not even past Halloween yet, but that's fine. This is their ambient lighting edit unlocked in Lustrous. And actually with these, the first batch, you can pick between these different animal like prints, and they all go to like animal charities. You can basically pick what you want the inside to be and the outside, which I thought was really cool. So I ended up picking like one of these, but with the tiger outside. That's not how they would normally come if you just left them as is, but that's just kind of how I liked it. And I'm actually loving this palette. I think this is their best palette to date, in my opinion. Then we have the Insider article, which I'm just gonna go through it. So this was written by Kat, who doesn't work for Insider anymore. I believe she works for NBC News, but do not quote me on that. I don't follow people's career progressions that closely. So Jeffree Star accusers say the makeup mogul has a history of SA, physical violence, and hush money offers. And that's really when the veil dropped on Jeffree Star. Like it was already dropping, and now it was just like mainstream news was discussing this, you know? So I think Business Insider is quite a respected company. Before building his YouTube makeup empire, Jeffree Star was politically incorrect MySpace celebrity. Jeffree Star was missed out the A. In addition to his racist outbursts, several people, including some of Star's former friends, peers, and associates, told Insider that he physically and abused others at the height of his MySpace fame. Several people said Star preyed on men around him through non-consensual oral sex and groping at his music performances. Accusers also said Star used weapons such as a stun gun, so a tasing device, on the people around him for fun and for revenge after facing rejection. Star's attorney denied the allegations of physical and sexual violence in this article, calling them false and defamatory. Messages obtained by Insider show two of Insider's on-the-record sources discussing a $10,000 payout offer from Star to take back their allegations. The online persona Star cultivated during that phase of his career in his early 20s was shocking and violent at times, with public videos of groping episodes and racist outbursts. An inside investigation suggests that it wasn't all an act. Several former associates say Star engaged in violent and abusive behavior on multiple occasions during the late 2000s, including multiple allegations of SA. 4 people who spoke with Insider said Star groped men around him without consent. 5 people told Insider they personally saw Star using a close-range stun gun or other tasing device to hurt and intimidate people around him. And 5 people told Insider that in 2009, Star used a taser on a homeless teen who had rejected his affections in a movie theater. That teen later stayed the night in Star's apartment and told Insider that Star gave him Ambien until he was intoxicated and forcibly performed oral on him without his consent. Several people in publicly available internet posts corroborate key components of the former homeless teen's account. In several letters to Insider, Star's attorney denied allegations of physical and violence and questioned the reliability of Insider sources. After Insider detailed the allegations to Star and his attorney, several people who had made on-the-record claims about Star's conduct contacted Insider to change their stories, which would insinuate to me that Jeffree Star reached out to them and either threatened them, allegedly, or offered them more money, allegedly. Insider obtained text messages showing 2 of the on-the-record sources for this article discussing what they said was a $10,000 offering from Star to take back their allegations. So what I said, money. I keep on seeing things and I think it's the mother coming back. 1 accuser and 2 claimed witnesses, all of whom had provided on-the-record accounts to Insider in which they said they saw or experienced Star engaging in violence, ultimately did change their stories. Star, whose real full name is Jeffrey Lynn Steininger Jr., has previously faced waves of backlash over the racist persona he crafted to attract attention on MySpace and the late 2000s live streaming platform Stickam. Starting about 2004, the year Star turned 18, he began appearing in video footage online that showed him assailing people on public streets, sometimes holding a yellow self-defense spray canister and yelling the N-word at passerby. So then there's him mocking black women during comedic skits, suggesting that he'd pour battery acid on a black woman to lighten her skin. He also instigated public fights on camera, confronting strangers with racist and sexist slurs. He acknowledged some of the language he used in a 2017 apology video. I'll get into that. In one widely circulated clip, Star appears to grope a man's on a 2009 Warped Tour stop. In a letter to Insider, Star's attorney said the video was of Star and a friend jokingly touching one another, which was then uploaded to Star's YouTube channel purely for entertainment. In the clip, the man pushes Star's hand away when he reaches down to grope him, and Star walks away saying, "I knew it was big." I've seen him grope both guys and girls. Zach Neal, a longtime former Warped Tour manager, told Insider, "I think anybody that's seen him in concert has seen that. That's just part of his thing, feeling people up and groping people and slapping and grabbing." People told Insider that Star was violent and his romantic advances weren't reciprocated. So for example, in 2008, Gage Arthur was a 17-year-old in Austin, Texas, with dreams of becoming famous on the internet. He began building a fan base on MySpace and Stickam. That year, Arthur's roommate, also a Stickam entertainer, invited a friend from LA to visit their apartment in Austin, Jeffree Star. Over the course of 4 interviews with Insider that took place during the summer, Arthur said Star actually pursued him soon after meeting him, starting at that apartment, even though Arthur identifies as straight. In 2009, Arthur moved to LA to join his more internet famous peers. Once he arrived, he struggled with homelessness and spent time couch surfing with friends. In November 2009, a little over a year after their first meeting, Arthur said Star invited him to stay at his apartment and the two shared Star's bed. November 11th, that same year, the first night that Arthur was to crash at Star's place, according to a public social media post, Arthur and Star went to see a movie with 2 friends. During the film, Arthur said Star tried to hold his hand, but Arthur resisted. According to Arthur, Star attacked him with a taser in the theater parking lot after the movie in retaliation. That night, Arthur told Insider Star gave him Ambien pills until he was intoxicated, then performed non-consensual oral sex on him. So more than a month after that post went up, and after Insider asked Star for comment on it, Star's attorney sent Stone a cease and desist letter asking him to take down the post, according to a copy of the letter reviewed by Insider. Star's attorney likewise denied Arthur's claims, Insider saying Star's had never tasered or drugged anyone for sex. So 3 weeks after this, Insider asked Star for comment on Arthur's claims, and then Arthur sent a text message to Insider saying, "Hey, his lawyers called me." 5 hours later, he followed up with an email saying, "I'm not sure I'm remembering stuff correctly, and I may have misinterpreted things," adding, "I'm retracting our communications." The next day, Star's attorney sent a letter to Insider making clear that he was aware of Arthur's efforts to retract his statement. Since then, Insider has obtained text messages written by Arthur in which he told another person contacted by Insider for his story that he had changed his account, and Jeffree Star has agreed to pay you $10,000 if you choose to do the same. So he's just paying people off, essentially. People that he knows are struggling financially anyway, because this teen was, well, at the time when he was a teenager, he was homeless, and we don't really know how he's doing financially now. So that money could be, you know, life-changing to him. So obviously he's like, well, I'm just gonna say that I misinterpreted things if that makes my life easier, which I don't blame him for. So several people corroborated key components of Arthur's initial claims of assault. So before Arthur changed his story, Insider corroborated much of the account with multiple people, including several on-the-record interviews with friends and witnesses. Social media posts referencing the allegations have also circulated online over the past 10 years. Like, just now they've changed, so clearly that means that they were right to begin with, but Jeffree is using hush money allegedly. Arthur's former roommate in Austin confirmed to Insider that Arthur was 17 when Star first visited the apartment they shared, and he verified Stickam footage depicting the 3 men together during Star's trip. The footage shows Star kissing Arthur for about 25 seconds. Star was 22 at the time. There are also tweets from that night from Jeffree Star saying that he was going to the movies with Arthur and 2 friends, and in the morning he posted a selfie with Arthur captioning it, "Just waking up." Now they've both been deleted, so, you know. Another friend that was there, who Insider verified but is trying to stay anonymous so they're not saying his name, said that when they were watching the movie, Jeffree Star had leaned over to them and said what they were going to do to Arthur. So it's all linking. For example, there's another thing of just Jeffree Star groping people at his tours. So for example, May 2007, Jeffree performed at a venue called Beto's Pizzeria in Alaska. There, Britton Straw, who just turned 18, said Star groped him before his performance began. Straw, who had worked on sound and other production roles at the restaurant, said he was wearing spandex shorts that night. Straw said the venue owners introduced him to Star and made a comment to Star about the shorts that Straw was wearing, after which Straw said Star reached down and groped him. I was just kind of shocked. After a while, it dawned on me that it was pretty effed up. When the Me Too stuff started happening, all these things that seemed to be smaller transgressions were coming out, and I was like, well, wait a second, I was assaulted. It never really clicked. People say Star offered witnesses money to recant their allegations about him, and 3 changed their stories. And that's the Insider article let's keep on going. Now let's jump to YouTube, where he really tried to reinvent himself. He's completely different now at this point in time, like when he's trying to change over to like mainstream YouTube, being more family friendly, but acting like he's edgy, but not the kind of edgy that he was in the MySpace days. That's really where like the change happens. So he starts his makeup line and starts reviewing other makeup to decide if it's Jeffree Star approved. He's trying to be a beauty guru, you know, but like an edgy beauty guru, but like I said, not the kind of edgy that he used to be. He starts building a genuine audience of people who do not know about his past, and some who do, who followed him from MySpace. People find his old clips and demand an apology, but the old clips aren't any of the sexual behavior, it is just the racial behavior. So right now we're talking about being a racist, but we're not talking about being an alleged criminal. So to him, that might have been a slight sigh of relief, but not really. Does that make sense? Like he's like, okay, well, if nothing else comes out, then maybe I can get away with it. Maybe. That was probably his thought process at the time, until all of this started coming out, and then like he really couldn't run away from it, because a lot of people accepted his racist past and even tried to excuse it. But I think a lot less people are willing to accept like criminal essay acts. I actually was recently sent the High School Musical collab with Colourpop, and I love the blushes. I think they're really cute. I was also sent some of the, all of the graphic liquid liners. So I'm gonna use all of that. So people find his old clips and demand an apology. So he posts a video called Racism with a really cringe thumbnail, and comments are turned off, which is just a great sign of like, you know, being sorry and stuff. So he, in that video, essentially said that he was sorry for saying those things, sorry for bad wording, sorry for the words I've used. You mean slurs? Like, you're just throwing slurs around, let's be honest now. What do you mean those words that I use, bad wording? Like, how can you word things any better from that point onwards? I just don't really get it. He said that he was in a dark place and that the words he used were not meant to be racist. They were just because he was in a bad space. I don't really know what that means. He says that it's not about race to him, and he doesn't understand how racism can exist in people, but just look in the mirror. And he said it makes him sick to his stomach that his past is being brought up. Like, that's really the only thing that makes him sick to his stomach, is just that people are like aware of what he was doing in the past. But like I said, at this point, he was convinced that maybe none of the SA stuff would come out, and he could maybe come out on top of this. Because a lot of his fans were completely fine with this apology. They thought it was a perfectly fine piece of content. He also kept on repeating that the clips were from 12 years ago, which some of them were, but some of them were less than 10 years ago. So he likes to say things in a way that makes it sound less bad, but like it's still bad. His fans use this apology as the reason why they still support him. Like, to this day, I'll get comments that are like, well, he did apologize and he was in a bad space. And like, this is the video that everyone links back to, and it's an awful apology. Like, I don't think it's a good apology at all. And people will be like, no, you're just a hater. Like, he didn't actually mean that he was going to throw battery acid on a black woman. Like, he just said it because he was in a dark space mentally, and you're rude and you're bullying. And I'm like, grow up. Like, what do you mean I'm bullying? Surely threatening to throw battery acid on someone is more bullying. So around that same time, Kim Kardashian had actually defended Jeffree Star, because she like went on her stories and she was like, guys, I know that he said some bad things, but like, he's changed.
And I get it's a serious deal if you say like racial things, but I do believe in people changing, and people that apologize, I will give them the benefit of the doubt.
And then people called her out even more, and then she literally a few hours later posted another story being like, I don't support him, he's racist.
I just feel a bit naive, and I do want to really apologize for me feeling like I had the right to say get over it in a situation that involves racism.
And I was just like, okay, great. I'm glad her PR team came in clutch. Then we have Dramageddon, bring you guys back in time a little bit to his friendship with Manny Mua, Laura Lee, Nikita Dragon, Gabriel Zamora. Do you guys remember that? Much simpler days, really, where he was friends with all of them. He would do collabs with them, whether that be product collabs or just video collabs. They would all like review each other's makeup and all of this stuff. Then something had happened between them where they fell out, but like no one really knew why. They just stopped posting content together, and that was really that. Then Nikita, Gabriel, Laura and Manny all go on a brand trip where they recreate this picture that Kylie had posted with all of her friends, just putting up their middle finger, and they were basically shading Jeffree Star in the caption. You'd think like, wow, really? Is that what the beauty community was dealing with back then? Yes. It was so like simple, you know? Jeffree Star then like gets really upset about it. He's like crying publicly and all of this stuff. So people then start digging, like his fans, because they're like obsessed with him, start digging through Laura Lee's and everyone's past, really. And they find, well, not very nice things. You know, for example, Laura Lee had racially charged jokes that she made on her Twitter account about mainly black men. I'm pretty sure Gabriel Zamora had some racist comments that he made. I'm pretty sure he said the N-word. Then we had Nikita Dragon. She also is obviously culture vulture, the whole thing. And Manny didn't actually do anything. He was just cancelled because Jeffree Star said he was cancelled, and that's really it. Now, both Laura Lee and Manny Mua, now bear in mind, Laura Lee did put out a very bad apology video, like just her crying. It really just went down in history as like an awful video. Please don't do that if you're trying to apologize. She put out a pretty bad apology, but as a whole, her and Manny lost hundreds of thousands of followers, well, subs on YouTube. They were bleeding subs like crazy. I've never seen a loss quite like that. I'm pretty sure in like literally a few days they had both lost like 300k subs, and then they've been losing since, and really since then they haven't like fully recovered. I don't think I've ever seen them have like an amazing month again, which just goes to show how this has really like followed them across everything. And like, yeah, Laura Lee's tweets were bad, Manny didn't do anything, and Gabriel Zamora, who I'm not trying to dig up old stuff, he also had a racist tweet. But for some reason, because he posted a video where he kept on talking about like keeping it real and all of this stuff, and like he was dragging Manny in that video, and everyone already hated Manny Mua for being a leech, he didn't lose any subs, and he had actually ended up gaining subs, and that video did wonders for him. But like he had also made a racial, you know, like it just doesn't make sense to me that like Laura was so targeted, which like, yeah, you can unsubscribe from Laura Lee, but then keep the same energy for Gabriel Zamora, or just don't keep the same energy for Laura Lee if you're not going to keep the same energy for Gabriel Zamora. It just didn't really make sense to me. But then it's all just explained by misogyny, you know? People hate women. Which, like, you can. I'm not saying that you should have defended Laura Lee. I'm just saying you should have kept the same energy for the man in the situation. But no one did, because misogyny. That happened. Nikita skirted by because she always does. Like, no one really cancels her because she doesn't care enough. Like, she just never really cares about the bad publicity basically makes her rich and famous, so she doesn't care because she doesn't have to care. So she just came out completely unscathed from that. But Manny and Laura really just ended up getting like the worst of it for different reasons, I guess. Manny for being a snake and people being like, finally, he's confirmed a snake. And then Laura for obviously her racial tweets, which understandable. Since then, they've kind of started their own makeup brands, and like people that like them, people that don't. Like that's just kind of like the thing. This, I believe, this like event made Jeffree Star feel unstoppable. Like I believe that was his first like brushing with like power on the internet and just sending his fans to attack people, and you know, like I just think this made him feel powerful. He then ended up having his Shane Dawson series, The Secret World of Jeffree Star, and looking back, the series was so dramatic. It wasn't like an amazing series, but it definitely changed a lot of people's opinions on Jeffree Star. Like publicly, this was like his PR dream. Like he ended up coming out of this with so many new fans, people being like, oh my God, I feel so bad for Jeffree. He had a really bad childhood and a bad upbringing, and this is why he was racist, and like just stuff like that, where I don't necessarily think he should have been forgiven so quickly. I don't know. He did so many like little stories where he was crying and being upset about how people would once again like treat him poorly because he was part of the LGBT community, but then he was outing men on revenge porn websites. Like it just doesn't really make sense to me. Anyway, he also used the excuse of he was using racial slurs publicly, yes, but he said that he was using them at white people, so it doesn't count. But like you're still saying the slur as something that you can like use on, it just doesn't make sense. So then there was a lie about his mum being fake. Doesn't have a good relationship with his mum, which understandable. Like I would have not even talked about this. It's like none of my business. But he was publicly using his aunt to pretend that she's his mum, just on top of all the other lies that he has made. Makes me not particularly believe him on anything. Like, I think this is just the kind of person that he is. He just lies about random things, like not drinking alcohol, or like I mentioned at the start of this video, like buying his boyfriend a car, but then like not buying the boyfriend a car, or like, my nan is 103, but she's actually 100. I'm flying out to see her. I'm not flying out to see her. Like, it's just like, he just lies about so many unnecessary things. And then you start getting into like very serious allegations, and I just don't want to believe him, because obviously he just lies. Like, he lies about stupid things, he's also going to lie about the big things. Then we have the robbery, which I did talk about in my Jeffree Star Cosmetics video, so I'm not going to go into too much detail on here because we've already been here for a while. There was a $2.5 million robbery of his new concealer. There was one shade stolen plus some other products from other collections. Source was Jeffree Star, said he has footage but he doesn't show it. I've never seen it really be sold anywhere officially other than like fake posts that never really went anywhere. There was a woman called Tessa who posted on Facebook, and then Jeffree Star said that she was detained by the FBI, but she did an interview and said that she wasn't even talked to by the FBI, which, like, you would think, she was like the first person to have contact with the people who allegedly stole this concealer. You would think that the FBI would want to talk to her, but they didn't, which makes me think it was fake. This comes shortly after an ABH warehouse gets broken into and $4.5 million worth of stuff gets stolen. And it was a very similar story, except like the LAPD actually spoke out fully about that, and like there was actual like moves being made. He then launched the concealer a month later to obviously massive reception because of how big and mainstream that story went. They even used it in the second Jeffree Star Shane Dawson documentary, which was an infomercial for their makeup collection, sorry. So he didn't really make a loss due to insurance covering all of the lost cosmetics, but he had an amazing new promotional method for selling his concealer. Then we have By Sister. Jeffree Star, Tati, and James Charles became besties because they were all really competition towards each other. They were the biggest players in the beauty scene after getting rid of Manny Mua, Laura Lee, Gabriel Zamora, and Nikita Dragon, really. Because they're not, they stopped being competition. These three were now in competition with each other. And you know what they say, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. And that was really, I believe that friendship, truly. Tati posts By Sister, and Jeffree Star immediately gets involved. He tweets about James Charles being a predator and how he's banned from Jeffree Star's house. There were also texts that came out that actually James Charles showed, which were even more like violent, calling James all sorts of things, which I agree with, but he said he would come forth with more evidence about James Charles that he has, and then he posted a video saying that he won't be involved in this negativity and that he's pulling out of all the drama. Like I said, Jeffree loves to get involved when he thinks it will benefit him, but the moment it stops benefiting him and things start to get a bit messy, he just likes to pull out, because he didn't actually do it because he believed James Charles was a bad person. He actually did it because he thought there was going to be monetary gain in it, because Tati's video got 50 million views. So Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson used the By Sister drama then for the trailer for their documentary, and made it look like the trailer was going to be about like how the beauty industry, like the beauty community fell apart. But really, then we watched the series and it was all about this stupid eyeshadow palette they were releasing, and only like a few minutes of it were about the By Sister drama. So they actually capitalized on it to sell their product. The rest was just an infomercial for their collection. Then we have the flip-flopping. So there's this timeline made by Sebastian Williams that you can pause and read of when Jeffree Star flip-flops his stance on James Charles. So like I said, Jeffree Star doesn't care if James Charles is a predator or not. He just cares about what stance in that moment will get him the most money. So after all of that happened with him flip-flopping on Derby Vanity, he actually did an interview with Chris Hanson, and it was a shit show. So Jeffree Star just kept on lying and Chris Hanson wouldn't call him out on it. That's it. Then we have the Mum's Basement podcast, where he gets asked about James Charles, and Jeffree Star, he says he has a voice recording of a victim that he's like parading around. He's being like, I can go to another room with Banks and pay for him if you guys want. But then like, how about you go to the police with it? How about you go to the police? I'm so sick and tired. And then they talk about Derby Vanity again, and this was actually called out by Colossus Crazy. And he was the only one out of him, Keemstar, and Banks to actually call him out on the bullshit. Because Chris Hanson didn't catch it, or like didn't bother calling him out. Keemstar didn't call it out. Banks didn't call it out. Colossus Crazy was the only one that was like, this doesn't make sense. Like, you tweeted that you saw things, and then you said that you didn't, and then you went on tour with him again, and then you said, and then you didn't, and then you did. Like, what's the explanation for this? Sorry, Phoebe's growling because she's playing with her toy. And I really respect the fact that he was really the only person that was like, are you going to say the truth at any point, like now? Blair White, after this podcast, then films her own video saying how she heard the voice note mentioned in the Mum's Basement podcast, and he says that it's like a verified, like she's basically like confirming the source, which, have you spoken to the source? She said that she messaged the source to be like, hey, I've like come out with this if you feel comfortable, yada yada. She also then discusses the Darby Vanity situation, and Jeffree Star is allegedly paying people off. And then she also says how Jeffree Star named another YouTuber to her who is also a criminal, but she won't publicly say who it is. Once again, go to the police. Like, these YouTubers are really starting to get really tiring because everything is clout, everything is post a video. How about go to the police station? How about file a police report? How about put the predators in jail and not just in a red social blade? Like, I just don't really know what to tell you guys about this. I'm getting a little bit heated. Carmageddon. Tati posted an explanation video of how Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson manipulated her into going against... So rude. Manipulated her into going against James Charles because they said that they would also help her and then include her in the documentary to discuss this whole thing, and then basically left her out to dry. And she is actively, like, was pursuing legal action at the time, which I don't know where that went. Jeffree Star responds on his ugly couch and used BLM to shift attention, as he usually does. Since then, Jeffree Star has been posting less on YouTube and being less involved in, like, YouTube happenings. He has moved to Wyoming to start a yak ranch, which was another thing that he lied about because he said that these yaks were just like his pets. And then a year later, he's selling yak meat. So cute. So, like, quirky and cute. He still has some, like, diehard fans who don't care about his alleged criminal behavior, or they don't know. I'm gonna, like, be positive about the population of the world and be like, maybe they just don't know. Maybe they need to watch this video and they'll know. But I don't know. I keep on having a hair on my nose and I'm struggling right now. They excuse his alleged criminal behavior and racial remarks and other things. Like, they're just, like, really going for it. They're like, this is our king, lord and savior, you know? He's also not friends with Tati or James Charles, but he is still friends with Shane Dawson, which I'm gonna discuss that for a minute. I am kind of thinking about doing a Shane Dawson video as well, and a few other videos. Let me know what you guys want to see. The fact that he's still friends with Shane Dawson, like, F Shane Dawson too. Shane Dawson had his own weird videos come out, and, like, they didn't make him look like a good person either. So the fact that he's completely okay with Jeffree Star's alleged criminal behavior doesn't leave a great taste in my mouth, and, like, I will never go back to supporting Shane Dawson again. Like, I know a lot of people have forgiven him and they're, like, back to watching his podcast and stuff. Good for you guys, not me. Could never be me, because he's still supporting actively Jeffree Star, you know? Like, even if it wasn't just his own stuff that came out, him being friends with Jeffree Star still, like, says enough to me about what his mindset about that kind of behavior is, because birds of a feather, I'm not gonna finish that one. This might be perfect timing actually for the first time I've finished, like, my makeup and my video at the same time. So yeah, I just don't know how he can still be friends with Jeffree and then claim that, like, he's not a weirdo himself. I just don't really get it. These are the new High School Musical Just a Tint, and I love Just a Tint from Colourpop, and this shade is the best. I love it. It's called Status Quo, and it's the perfect shade. Okay, so that's about what I'm gonna look like. That's my video on Jeffree Star. It's very long. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe with that bell, like, comment for engagement. Also, let me know what else you wanna see from me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.